Hello. This is a trigger warning for this episode. We talk about some very serious topics in this one, specifically about suicide and mental health. We speak about a friend that Ashtyn has lost to suicide, and we also talk about suicide prevention and the work that the Ironworker locals within Ontario are working to create mental health committees and to create programs that help deal with mental health problems within the community of ironworkers and tradespeople, and specifically with suicide prevention. But it is a serious topic, and we do spend a significant amount of this episode talking about it. And I would like to give everybody a warning and a heads up. So, yes, we do talk about very mature subject matter. Thank you for listening. If you choose to listen, if you choose to don't, I hope you're having a good day.
Hello, guys. This is the Smoko podcast. Welcome. We are the place to celebrate and highlight women, trans women, and non binary folk working within STEM and trade occupations. So please tune in, join us. We are on Smoko. And today we are extremely lucky to be joined by Ashtyn Crabb, who is an iron worker. She's an iron worker with the Toronto Union Local 721. She's on the mental health committee, which is absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about her journey into the trades because it's a little bit different, and a little bit round away. We're going to talk about the highs and lows of being an iron worker, why she ultimately absolutely loves it, and why that decision to go into the trades changed her life completely for the better. So, Ashtyn, thank you so much for coming onto the show and talking about your experience and how you became an iron worker. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thank you. Me too. I love talking about ironworking, so any excuse.
Honestly, I love hearing about ironworking because, like, as of maybe 6 months ago, I didn't really know that much about it. Like, I knew it existed, but that was like my limit. I knew it existed. I knew I would never do it because I'm too scared of heights. And that was it. So, like, I love listening about it and like learning more about your trade. And maybe if that's where we can start, of just being like, how you got into it, because I know a little bit about it just from creeping you on the OBC Tradeswomen Working Tradeswomen Wednesday and like learning a little bit about your story. But I was wondering if you could retell it and how you became an iron worker. Walk through it.
Yeah, so it's funny at first how you said that you didn't really know anything about ironworking because I didn't either. The only thing I knew was my uncle was an iron worker and he worked out in BC, and I knew he like built bridges, and I knew I would never do it,
Yeah.
which is hilarious, like the exact same as you. And then like my life just like completely turned and I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. So basically what happened was I was a university student at UOIT, which is, well, I'm from Toronto, so it's
Mhm.
a university it's not University of Toronto, it's the university that's in Oshawa, which is kind of funny. If you knew what that was, you'd be like, oh, okay. But anyways, nothing fancy. But I was in school there for forensic psychology, and I had like I absolutely loved it. Everything about it. It was super, super interesting. Very, very cool stuff that I was learning. And I was never like a super good student. Like
Mm.
I was more of like an athlete, and like I didn't really give a shit about school at all. And then when university rolled around, I basically just decided that I needed to pull up my socks,
Mm.
like what every adult usually does
Yeah.
is, oh, now that I'm,
Oh
in
shit.
post secondary and paying for education, I should probably give a
Yeah.
shit.
Hmm.
So basically, I started caring about school a lot and I really, really enjoyed it. But the problem was that I was super poor. I
Mm.
was so broke. I was working like 3 jobs and I still was like not making enough money. And I still lived at home too. So
Mm.
like I had my own car and everything. So like that
No,
was
but
like
your
the bill.
expenses weren't crazy, I'm sure. You were living a modest life and still,
Yeah.
yeah.
And still unable
Yeah.
to pay for my shit.
Mhm.
So basically what ended up happening was I was sick of asking my parents for money. It's like
Mm.
you reach a point in your life and you're like, I don't want to, like, I love them, of course,
Mhm.
but like I don't want to depend on them anymore. Like, I think I was like, I don't know, well, I was like 19.
Mm.
So it's like I'm at a point in my life where like I feel like I still ask my parents for freaking everything, and like I didn't want to do that. So basically, I called my uncle and I was like, "Can you help me pay my car insurance?" Because I was like, I don't know, I felt guilty for asking my
Yeah.
parents for money and help all the time. So I asked my uncle, and he was like, "No."
I love that part of this story. I love the like harsh, like,
Like,
of just nope.
what do you mean? Like, you don't love me? Like, okay, sick. So basically, he said no, but he would help get me a job in the union hall. And I was like, ironworking? Like, do
Excuse you?
do you
What?
know me? Like, are you aware of who I am? And it's funny because like you ask anybody from high school or anything like that, like they would be like, Ashtyn Crabb, Ironworker, weird.
Mm.
Not really a match, right? But to my surprise, so basically, yeah, long story short, I ended up joining the hall, and it wasn't like a quick, yeah, I'm gonna become an ironworker. It was like a process for me to think about. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, but I was in like a stage of my life where like I was doing my own thing, going to the gym, like just really caring about myself. And I was like, I can do this. Like, why limit myself? And like, I honestly thought to myself, I'm like, it's better money. Yeah, it's harder work, but like it's better money. And like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? I can quit. Like any job, you don't like it,
Quit.
you don't, like honestly. And I know some people are like, they have a problem, like an ego problem with quitting, but it's like, you know what? Whatever's good for you. You know what I mean? So I ended up taking the shot and being like, yeah, let's do it. And I never turned back. So it's crazy. Yeah. It was just like, it's something that I never, and like literally ever imagined doing. And now it's like crazy that this is like my career. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's insane for me to think back like 5 years ago or 6 years ago and be like, I would have never imagined doing this. And now I couldn't imagine my life like any other way. You know what I mean? Like, since ironworking, there's been a million things that like I benefited from, not just in terms of like career, but like just life. Like, I have so many good people around me that like the ironworkers have like a true like a brotherhood. You know what I mean? Like, we take care of our own. I've seen people get hurt at work, outside of work, and like the monetary contributions that come in from our brothers and sisters just because they're an ironworker. You're a brother and you fell off the iron. It's like, here's $100. There is truly such a brotherhood. And you know, sometimes it gets lost a little bit, but it's still there. And like, that's one of the things I love about ironwork. It's like the other day I was literally grocery shopping, and me and my fiance, we were walking, and we were like, we saw an ironworker sweater. We both looked at each other. We're like, hey. We went up to the guy. We're like, hey, how's it going? We're both ironworkers. And he's like, oh, hey. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like a rite of passage. Like, I don't even know if I'm
club.
using that.
A club,
it's
probably.
Like, it's like a club. It's our little brotherhood and sisterhood. So it's like, you can't sit with us.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Going back to Mean Girls.
Yeah.
And the Mean Girls of trades. No,
Yeah.
I absolutely love that story, and like, thank you for retelling it. And
Yeah.
I love it for so many reasons. Like, I love the kind of self-discovery and growing up and becoming from like a kid to an adult, and then having this transition period of just being not happy about maybe like financial independence or where you are standing on your own 2 feet. And I love that this job gave you the ability pretty early on to do that and to become independent and to become like financially independent, because I think that's one of the reasons why I love women going into trades and STEM, is because they have independence. And I think that happens very quickly and almost throughout all trades and all STEM jobs. So that's fantastic. I love that aspect of it. I love that your uncle was like, nah, we're not going to give it, but we are going to give you a job.
Yeah.
I think is like way more powerful. You mentioned when you first came into ironworking, it wasn't like an automatic, like, I all of a sudden love this. And it took a little bit to realize that you were in a good place in your life and that it was such a net positive. And now you're part of this secret Mean Girls Club that's not so mean at all. That's like the kindest thing of the entire world. Ironworkers are like such softies, is what I've slowly learned about ironworking as a trade.
Yeah, like if you talk to like other trades, will definitely not say that we're the softies. Other trades will be like, yeah, no, they're the fucking assholes.
I think you guys are softies, unless unless if for some reason, like, I get a lot of ironworkers that are like, hello, can I come on your podcast? And I'm like, yes, of course, please.
Well, we are, I don't know, it's just like a different
level.
There's some guys and girls that are like, yo, I'm an iron worker. And like, I'm better than your trade. And like, you know what I mean? But like, at the end of the day, a trade is a trade. And like, we all work together to make a building go up. So like, it doesn't fucking matter.
It gets too big to be like, okay, like you can't sweep it as like one color. But I understand what you're saying is like, it is
Yes,
a rough culture, but it's not all the time 24/7. It's punctuated,
exactly.
right? Like you
Yes.
have moments of like true sisterhood and true brotherhood. And you do have moments of like, my impression of ironworkers again as a softie is kind of real, but also the
Yeah.
impression of like ironworkers being dicks sometimes is also probably real. It's just too big of
Hmm.
a trade and there's too many people
It
in it.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my local alone has over 4,000 members.
Yeah. It's
Right. And
huge.
it's like, it's massive. And like, that's a lot just for Toronto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you think of like freaking BC. Like you guys have a huge local as well. It's a huge fucking like international brotherhood. So it's like, yeah, you're gonna run into pricks and you're gonna run into like the greatest people you've ever met. Like I think my fiance is the greatest human being I've ever met. And I
So
met him
cute.
at work and he's an iron worker. So,
Yeah.
but then I've also like, I met some of my like really, like our best friends, like guys that I'm like, can you do my breaks? And like, they
Aw.
wouldn't even like hesitate, or like guys were like, they just come over and they'll hang out, like we'll chill out all day and like watch a movie or just have a chill day, have a few drinks, watch a Leafs game, like whatever, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's like a different type of relationship. Like I can't explain it. I truly can't. It's just crazy.
I agree. No, I always try to like think of like these relationships. I think that they're kind of the same in industrial environments or anywhere where you're working like shift work. It's really physical. It's dangerous. You have to like work together. Like I think it breeds something a little different. And I always want to say
Mm-hmm.
family, but I'm like, no, that's not really it. Cause like it's not like truly a family or like, but it's a closeness that I think that you get really, really quick within that environment.
Well, another thing too is like, if you actually think about it, you usually, like people in trades specifically,
Mhm.
I would say, spend more time with people
Mhm.
at work than they do with their own families.
Yeah.
By the time you go home and you go to bed, like, yeah, you might be spending more hours at home sleeping.
Mhm.
You're not spending quality time with anybody.
Mhm.
I literally see the guys at work
More.
way more often than I see Mason at home. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's crazy. It's insane to think that. Like, so in a way, it's not a family, but it is. It's your
Mhm.
second family. It's your family away from home. It's like the guys that you confide in, especially people that go on camp jobs and stuff.
Mhm.
Like, you're away from your family. You're away from literally society.
That's my
So
life. I was a camp
yeah,
worker for like years and like 100% like it. And it can be like, it can be sometimes like a little bit, like an uncle that you don't speak about or like an aunt that you're like, you're too
yeah.
much in my business, lady. But like, it's still a family no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
I love this like love of ironworking because I think this entire conversation, you can just tell that like it changed your life. And this is your life. Like when you were like, yeah, okay, 6 years ago, I couldn't imagine this. And now I would never change it. I couldn't imagine my life without ironworking. You can tell. I mean, your life, your
Mm-hmm.
family, your fiance, which is so freaking cute that you met him at work. Like your entire life is wrapped up in this like brotherhood and sisterhood. And I was
Mm-hmm.
wondering if you could talk about a little bit of why you love it so much. Like, what's a favorite task or what's something about like your role and your responsibility that you get to do that you're like, yeah, this is it. This is my favorite thing.
Well, okay, that's easy. I just love working with a crane. Like
Mm.
anything to do with a crane, mobile crane, tower crane, doesn't matter. Any crane, overhead crane, it doesn't matter.
If it
I
says
mean,
crane in
overhead
it.
crane is not as exciting, but like I just love like hooking on and working with the crane. It's just so fun. Like being on, there's like a raising gang, which is
Mm.
the people that basically they make a pick list and they organize all the steel to go up in order for the connectors to connect it. Those are my two favorite jobs, being on the raising gang and being a connector or hooking on. Those are
Mm.
by far the funnest. They're so fun. Like literally I walk around with a clipboard all day and I'm like, oh my God, I get to organize. It's all color coordinated. And like some people, oh yeah, they're like, how's your fuck? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like it's organized and no one fucking touch it and it's
Mhm.
perfect.
And if it goes exactly like my plan and I get to
Yeah.
be type A today and have my
Yeah.
little sticky notes, like, please, this is
Exactly.
my
Yeah. That's just
piece
my
and
shit.
yeah.
And plus, I get to fucking run around all day and like be active and like I don't know. I just love it. It's like so much better than like, well, in my opinion, like sitting at a fucking desk for the next 30 years. Like, I'd rather die. But But no, like I love working with a crane. I love connecting iron. I hate welding.
Mm.
Everybody's like, "Oh, you're a chick. You're probably a really great welder." And I'm like, yeah, I'm really good. If it's flat,
Yeah.
which is so funny. I just like, I don't know. There's something about, maybe it's my ADHD, but like, well, okay. At the beginning of my apprenticeship, people always told me that, if you're a welder, you get stuck under a welding shield all day.
Mm.
And not to say you don't learn the trade, but there are certain aspects of the trade that you might miss out on because you're welding under your shield all fucking day.
Mm-hmm.
So like I decided not to weld until I was in my second term of school, which was intermediate. And that's when I started welding, because I was like, hey, no, like we're not welders, we're ironworkers, but
It's
we're
different.
ironworkers that can weld,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, basically I was like, I know I have to learn how to weld, but it just wasn't a huge interest to me. And like I feel like a lot of people, like, they didn't learn how to bolt up. They didn't learn how to read blueprints. They didn't learn how to like literally hook on, like choke a beam, or, like do any of the things that I learned super early in my apprenticeship. And I think a part of it is because I was like, no, I'm not welding. And like, I wanted to be a well-rounded player, which, like, coming from like an athlete's perspective, like you want to, like, if one of your teammates gets hurt, you want to be able to go in and fill their position. You know what I mean? So like, I think of it the same way with ironworking. Like, you want to be well-rounded. So that's why I did start welding. So like, some people might be like, oh, then like you didn't have your welding ticket, so like you weren't like helpful, kind of thing. Like,
yeah, but I think like there's so much that you guys can do. Like
there's so much, right? So it's like, it's just like, people always say like you're more employable if you have your tickets and have everything, right? So that's essentially why I ended up getting my tickets. But do I like welding? No. Do I want to be under a welding shield for
Not
like
your
a week
favorite.
straight, welding a moment connection? No. Absolutely fucking not. Like, and like alone with my own thoughts. Oh my God. You hear how much I fucking talk? Like, it's like nonstop, just go, go, go. And like, I could listen to music and it still wouldn't drain out my fucking ADHD. So like, sitting in one spot fucking welding all day in like a fucked up position like that, no, not for me. Sorry. I'd rather hang off of a building. I'm good. So yeah, that's my favorite task and my least favorite task.
I love it. I love that you brought back the well-rounded player, because I actually forgot that, and I loved that answer when you talked about being a well-rounded player and like your background of being an athlete, and how your background was all in athletics in university and as a kid, and then like this idea of being well-rounded I think is so fantastic, because I didn't know when I learned about ironworking, I had no idea that it was a make your own adventure until they were like, yeah, you can get your welding ticket, you can get your like heavy duty operations ticket, you can become a crane operator, you can do this, you could do that. Like, I had no idea the breadth of work that you could do. So it makes sense that like in this trade, you decided to do a little bit of everything and become proficient at everything so that you could do any single task. But of course, you're not going to love every single one the same thing, right? Like,
yeah.
I love your crane answer, because I've never really heard much about like what that actually means. When you're talking about your job and you're like lifting up, are you basically just wrapping the steel, bring it up to the very top? Are you in the crane itself at the very top operating the crane? Or are you walking around with your clipboards? Like, it sounds like there's multiple things there.
Okay, so you have your crane operator, which like if you're erecting like a building, like I'm like explaining, your crane operator is in a tower crane high above you. I can take them 15 minutes to walk up the thing. You know what I mean?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So, or he takes the hoist like a normal person. But I've had some operators that are like, no, I don't get exercise all day. I have to walk up, and I'm waiting fucking 25 minutes for this motherfucker to walk up to his crane. Anyways, you can tell it pisses me off.
Yeah,
like, I'm waiting.
You can tell that you really like that, to be like, yes, please get your steps.
Yeah.
Go off, King.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, so you have your raising gang. Those are the guys on the ground, and usually there's like your shakeout guys that are like organizing the steel, the people with the clipboard, making sure that things are in order. You know where all your picks are going to be for the crane. Because sometimes we have a laydown. It's fucking massive. and you have a million pieces of steel. They all look the exact same, and they're just labeled B12, like fucking bingo.
Yeah, what does that mean?
You're like, oh, I gotta go find B6, no, B8, right? And sometimes you can't find the stamps, so you got to measure, and like it's like it sounds
Tetris.
a little yeah,
it's like Tetris basically
kinda,
on the
yeah.
ground a little bit, like
Yeah.
organizing the Lego pieces before they go out to actually be making the structure.
Exactly. Yes.
Woo!
100%. Yeah.
That is a logistical nightmare. That is hard.
Yeah. So basically there's that. Those are like your shakeout guys, right? And then you have like your guys that are hooking on. So your shakeout guys sometimes, like, depending on how big the laydown is, like, I don't know, like usually your shakeout guys will like have a telehandler drive the piece over to where the crane is, or not. Sometimes the crane can just pick it from wherever it is, right? But so yeah, the guys that hook on are the guys that guys or girls. I'm so bad with that.
That's okay. It means the same. I know.
you take like a steel choker or a Kevlar choker, and different chokers have different weight limits, obviously, right? So you have to figure out, like, okay, is this going to fall on everybody in Toronto's head, or is this not? You know what I mean? It's like, it sounds hard, like, but we go to school for it, like, we know. So basically, the guys that hook on, you have like usually a tagline. You put the tagline on the piece of steel to like, thread the needle sometimes if you have to, right? And then you have like the connectors up top who are connecting the iron. Those are the guys that like you see, like that's like the classic cowboys of the sky, Ironworker, you know what I mean? Like crazy badass guys fucking running across beams or joists that are 2 inches wide, you know? So that whole group together makes a raising gang.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So the raising gang is like my favorite part. But there's a million other gangs that we have too. Like, I don't know why we call them gangs, but like we just do. So there's your detail gang, you know what I mean? Like there's your...
No, it's okay. We don't need all of them. I just wanted to know what you did, like what a raising gang was. Cause I was like, I want to dive into it. If you're like, this is my favorite thing. And I'm like, yeah, raising gang. Totally. I'm like, no, I want to know what that actually means. So thank you for like walking through it and breaking it down. And it just like, it's insane to me still, the concept of your trade and how you guys build buildings from nothing, but also just like the badass portion of it, and the fact that like the connectors actually exist, and like the complexity of it, and the fact that it's all just at heights. Whereas like I hate a balcony off of like a third floor. Like I could literally never. So I'm always just blown away by you guys. I think it's like it's pretty fucking cool. It's absolutely amazing. Ashtyn, I want to talk a little bit about one thing, and this is maybe a little bit of a flip side of what we've talked about, because we've been pretty like lovey-dovey, but like this trade can be difficult, and it like is known to be super, super challenging, and it's known to be a hard trade. And I know that we've talked a little bit about like long hours away from home and then labor intensity. And then we've already kind of touched on how you spend more time with these guys. I was wondering if you could talk about how you overcome these challenges, and any other advice if somebody else is going through it right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like anything, a support system is like the biggest thing. You know what I mean? Like my mom, my dad, my family, my fiance, very, very supportive of my job. Always like hyping me up. You know, my daughter's an iron worker. You know, and I'm like, yeah,
so cute. Yeah, like that's adorable.
But you know what? Like, I also like, even my fiance's dad and his grandfather are both iron workers as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So we talk iron at the table. Like it's like what it is, right? So I think that just having like a support system, people that you can count on and rely on when you're feeling like I don't know, sometimes you feel like you're at a crossroads. You're like, do I want to fucking do this for the rest of my life? Like, but I think that everybody gets that with every job, not trade, like every job, you know, it's like, do I want to fucking do this for the rest of my life? It's a huge commitment. It's like the biggest commitment you can fucking make. Like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit in this desk or do this for the next 30 years, right? Or longer. So you just need to have good people around you. And like, I don't know, I feel like I'm very fortunate. Like, I don't know, this is going to sound kind of cocky, but like, I have a really good group of girlfriends too. I have 6 bridesmaids. They're all my besties, and they constantly are like, I don't know how you do this job, and like keep doing it, like I can't believe that, they hype me up. They save their parents. They're like, Ashtyn's a fucking iron
Aw,
worker. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And like, it makes me feel like, I am doing something. Or like my niece, my beautiful little niece, she said to me one time, she was like, Auntie, I saw a guy dressed like you. And I was like, what do you mean? And
Trades
she was
woman.
like, wearing high vis. And I was like, hey, my auntie does that. And I just was like, she's 9, right? So I was like, I was gonna say I never really thought that like women could be in trades when I was little, which is not true because my mom was a blue collar worker. So I did see like a woman in like an industrial setting.
Mm-hmm.
But like in terms of like trades, like I always thought like carpentry, electrician, plumber, right? I always thought like that was a man's job.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so glad that like
That's changing.
my
Yeah.
niece is like, Auntie, I saw a guy dressed like you. And like I know that you
Aw.
work in trades, you know what I mean? And like that's one of the things that like sometimes I don't know if it'll help anybody else going through, trials and tribulations kind of, but like sometimes it's like, no, I'm doing this also for like myself, but like a little bit of a greater purpose. Like I want
Yeah.
little girls to know, like, you can fucking do anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally do anything. Like just doesn't matter. I don't know. I don't know if that's one of the reasons why sometimes I like stick through it and like I'm like, yeah, let's, because everybody has a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a million times, like, do I even fucking want to do this anymore? I could go back to school. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I think all these thoughts going through my head, and it's like, no, I do want to do this because I do know I love it. But you just sometimes you have shit fucking days, and
Totally.
yeah, I don't know. I think it's just mainly you got to have a good support system. You got to have those people that build you up, make you feel important. And if you don't, then fucking get rid of the idiots in your life and get some new ones. Hit me up. I'll be your friend. I'll be your hype man, right?
Oh,
So
I love that answer. Like, I love that answer in so many ways. First off, I love that you have so much support in your life. And like, I'm blessed that I have a similar situation. I have like a family, two families, like on both sides, like my partner's family, my family, and my girlfriends are like my rocks, and they are there
yeah.
for me, like no matter what. But I love from your story that because ironworking can be such a like a passed on generation trade that like your
Mm-hmm.
grandfather to your father to your son, like to then your son, right? Like it keeps going throughout the generation. So
Yeah, generations.
I love that you have that on your fiance's side, and you have
Yeah.
that side of the family that understands you and like can talk iron at the table and can like really, really relate to you. But then I
Mm-hmm.
also love that you have people in your life that are completely different from ironworking, but are to
They're
the
clueless.
same, but the
Like
same
what?
level of just
Yeah.
being like, we don't understand at all. We have no idea what you do, but like we are so fucking proud of you. And we're so happy that you do it. And like you're the best at it. You're the best iron
Yeah.
worker of all time. Like I
Yeah.
love that same level of hype and like getting that
Yeah.
same love from both places. Because I think sometimes there's this idea that there's like not people think badly of the trades, and like people will have a view of you that would be negative. And I love that you don't
Yeah.
have that in your life, that you have girlfriends that are freaking hyping you up, which is
Yeah.
how it should be. That's amazing.
Exactly. 100%. Like I won't, obviously, if I've had people like, you're an iron worker, it's like,
Yeah. Ugh,
yeah.
get
And
out of here.
I'm like, fuck off. You're a
Yeah.
loser.
But it's a good attitude to have. Like, I like your attitude of just being like, no, like people are supposed to hype you up. And this is like what your support system is supposed to be like, because I think it's so healthy and it's so, I couldn't agree more. But I
Yeah.
also love the idea of like, yeah, everybody has fucking rough days, but like, I think being a real life example for your niece, like that must have been such a cool moment. And I'm sure there's going to be so many more as she gets older. But like,
Hmm.
what an amazing thing to be like, you're actively changing representation of somebody that you love. And like, you had that in your mindset of being like, no, trades can't be women. And then to see
Hmm.
like maybe one generation removed, a couple of years later, a little girl that you love being like, yeah, I want to work the iron too. And you're like, okay, this is
Exactly. Or
amazing.
like literally
Yeah.
anything. If she just wants to
To do it.
anything,
Yeah.
I'll be like, yeah, fucking do it. Who cares? You know what I mean? Like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, I just, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know why I feel that urge to like want little girls to like feel like, no, you can fucking do it. But like, I don't know. Maybe it's like my inner child
Yeah,
coming
I
out.
did too. I
You know
same
what I
thing.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you can do it, girl. Like, you know, like I love seeing like videos on like, I don't know, Instagram or whatever. And like, it'll be like a dad like hyping his daughter up doing
Mm,
gymnastics or something. And like, he's like, yeah, you can do it. And you can just see how that changes, like the glow on like the kid's face, like, oh, I can do it. Dad said I can do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like that reassurance. It's like, I feel like it's so important. And like, even if the reassurance doesn't come from your dad or your mom, if it comes from, you know, your aunt or like
whoever, yeah,
or someone that you just know, you know, like, oh, my friend's older sister or like whatever. It's like seeing that representation, I think it makes such a difference.
yeah. It's
At
real
least I hope.
powerful.
At least I hope it does.
I think it already does. Like you already have examples of it, of like the high vis and
Yeah.
looks like aunties. Like you
Yeah.
know it, right? It's I feel the same way. I think it's so important and like it hypes me up and definitely helps me through bad days. So I love that advice. I think it's a really good one. Um,
Hey.
Ashton, I wanted to talk a little bit about your job with your local because you're with Local 721. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about like the importance of community. It sounds like this is going to be another support system or like another group of people that's also going to have your back. And I was wondering if we could also talk about the mental health committee because I think that's super, super important. And I was wondering if you could speak to that committee and any initiatives underway or any like support the larger community can give you or anything that you need from us, basically.
Okay. Well, like I can't begin to explain how supported I feel in my local. You know, my business manager, my president, like they've always, like all the guys in the office, you know what I mean? They've always made me feel welcome, and like if I have an issue that it's heard. So that's a really huge thing too. I think that, you know, like if you have, you know, your support system like I was talking about at home, but then you also have like the support system of like your brothers at work or like the guys in charge, your officers, it's like a total game changer, you know, where it's like I'm not only on the mental health committee for the local 721, I also am the local 721 representative for the Ontario Ironworkers District Council Women's Committee.
Amazing.
So just being asked to represent for the district council is like the biggest honor in the world. And obviously the guys that advocated for me to like hold a position obviously believed in believed in me, you know what I mean? And like, and not just for like the reasons because like I talk so much and like I am good at it with a crowd, or like they've been like, no, I've seen her at work. She's a good, like, this is like me patting my own back, but like
no,
the
but you
guy,
can.
like the guys, they've been like, yeah, I've seen her at work. She can fucking plug a keg of bolts over her shoulder. You know what I mean? Like shit like that. And it's like, thank you. You recognize me as not only a worker, but also as an asset to our union that can maybe potentially bring change that is needed. Some guys are like, well, what the fuck? Why do we need a women's committee? And it's like, because the entire local is men. So when something happens to a woman on a job site, God forbid it happens, it's like, where do you want
they go?
Where can they go? Who can they confide in, right? And not only that, but like women see different issues than men at work. You know what I mean? Like one of the things that a lot of like, and it affects everybody, non-binary, males, females, everybody need childcare once they have children. And that is not really something that like our brothers at work think about. They're like, oh, we need fucking childcare. Like it is something that's probably in the back of their head. Yes, of course, they're fathers. But it's like the mother is like, oh my God, I need fucking someone to watch my goddamn kids.
Yeah. It's way
right?
more like present, and it's like it's way more
It's
like
a
I
little
need
different.
this. It's a little different.
Right? So basically, one of the things that we're working on is like creating daycares and childcare for 24 hours for parents that work night shift and messed up hours or shift work, you know what I mean? Or an early start daycare. So meaning, you know, not only trades or like industrial, but like nurses and people that work in healthcare, right? Like they all usually are going to work by what? 4:35
at the like latest.
Yeah,
like sometimes like 3:30. Like it's early,
exactly. So it's
early
like
mornings.
what you gotta wake your kid up, and or like basically you see what I'm saying, right? It's like it's a necessity. So it's like women, we see this different side of things. So like, why wouldn't you want a women's committee? You know, like to the guys that are like, why do we have that? That's bullshit. And like I've had guys say before to me, like, oh, it's fucking bullshit that you're doing this, or like that and that, or like this and that. And it's like, you know what? Whatever. So then the mental health committee, that is one that's very near and dear to me because I've always been a mental health advocate. I think every single person, whether they know it or not, has suffered with some form of anxiety, depression, you name it, some type of mental illness. You've probably dealt with it, or you've probably seen
Know
it,
somebody. Yeah.
know somebody. Like,
Mhm.
it's actually like a fact. You do, like, you
Yeah.
know somebody.
It's
Like,
40% of the population is anxiety and depression, let
yeah,
alone like any neurodivergence or anything else like that.
exactly.
No.
And in the trades culture, I think a lot of us know that there is a huge substance abuse issue,
Mhm.
and typically substance abuse and mental health compound each other.
Mhm.
So most people treat their mental health issues with drugs or alcohol to
Mhm.
cope, right? And then what do we have then? So now we have two problems. Now we have you're dependent on alcohol or any type of substance, or you're
And
like,
mental health on top of
yeah,
it.
you're
Yeah, you have two
right.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, those are just two things that, like, it's a huge problem, and not just in the
Mhm.
trades. It's a huge problem in the iron workers.
Mm.
We have a lot of mental health. We, unfortunately, in my local alone, we have had quite a few people, unfortunately, commit suicide, and it's kind of like
Oh.
the raw and sad things. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Because yeah, you know what? Like, yeah, my whole interview has been happy, 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 but like,
No, there's
there
a
is
rough side of it. There's a
there's a raw
yeah.
and rough and sad side, and we've lost a lot of brothers. I personally have lost one of my really really good buddies.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and he was an iron worker. I went to trade school
Mhm.
with him. He was Pete. He was one of my besties.
Oh.
It's actually coming up to a year that he's passed,
Oh.
and it just like breaks my heart that there wasn't like a system out there really for my brothers that were and
Mhm.
sisters that are struggling, because like I am so fortunate that I don't struggle with substance abuse or
Mhm.
anything like that, but I have seen it. I have it in my
Mhm.
family. I I've seen it up close and personal, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So when people don't have like a release, or like feel like they don't have a release, like that's when bad things happen, I feel.
Totally. It's a
So
desperation. Like that's a really dark, dark place to be in. And it's easy to think that you have no out, right? Or you only
exactly.
have one out. And it's a
Exactly.
very scary, dark place to be in.
It is. And so making sure that people know that their voices are going to be heard is
Mhm.
huge. So the mental health committee for local 721 right now, there is obviously certain things that we cannot do as like
Mhm.
committee members, because we are not mental health professionals.
Mhm.
We have our limitations, of course, but we kind of act as like a mediator
Mm.
from, like, let's say somebody's like going through like a really shitty fucking day and like their depression's at an all-time high. They can call any one of our committee members,
Mhm.
and basically we act like a middleman.
Mm.
We don't give like advice. Like, we give a little bit of advice from like a human standpoint, not as
Yeah.
like a therapist.
Yeah.
And then we will put them in touch with our member assistance program. So our member assistance program, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's registered therapists that
Oh,
answer the
amazing.
phones, and it's not automated. It's not fucking please press 3 if
It's
you
a
want to
real
talk.
person
It's
that's
a
on
real
the other line.
person
Yeah.
that answers, hey,
Mm.
hi, this is the member assistance program.
Mhm.
How can we assist you today? How are you
Mhm.
feeling? What is going on? And you can call. You don't have to be in crisis.
Mm.
You could just have a bad day and call. It's a therapist, and I think I can't remember how much it charges our members, but it's honestly something like 15 cents off
It's
of our
nothing.
paycheck.
Mhm.
It's like nobody in fucking missed 15 cents. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I think it's such a benefit, and it's so great that like the trades are slowly coming around like that. But like, especially like obviously for me, the
Mhm.
ironworkers, like,
Yeah.
since we have lost so many, it's just so huge to me. And I have training coming up. We're doing like mental health crisis
Mm.
training. So they're educating us. They're trying to make sure that we know the proper like way to go about things if somebody calls when they're in crisis, or if
Mm.
somebody calls and they need somebody to talk to, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, basically, like I said, there's a very fine line, or no, it's a very bold line
Mhm.
between therapist and somebody like a fucking iron
Yeah.
worker that's like, yo, what up, man?
But you
But
need that though. You need like you need
a
somebody within the
middleman.
community and the middleman that they can trust and that they can see themselves in them to be like,
Hmm.
it's a shameful thing sometimes. And that could be a really scary first step of reaching out. And it's really nice when the reach outs to a brother or sister and somebody who gets it. Like, I think that's
Exactly.
so powerful. I really do.
But also, and the thing is too, is it's like, I mean, a lot of people might have like, if they're like listening to this, they might be like, oh, well, like, what if the people on the committee like spilled beans and like talk? It's like, no, like that is, I think that's something that all of us have in common that's on the committee. It's like what you tell me is completely confidential. We don't have patient doctor confidentiality, but we have
A
a
code.
different type. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to, like, what, it's not my business to share. What am I going to, well, I'm going to go fucking home and tell a bunch of people about what's going on in
Nah.
Alexis' life. Like, no, you know what I mean? It's not my business to tell. I get a feeling of like fulfillment when if somebody does call and I pick up and I help a little bit, I get a little bit of fulfillment, you know what I mean? And like that's all I need. I don't need to go fucking blab. And I think
No.
that's something that everybody on the committee is like, you know, all the guys and girls are very like-minded like me, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's a little bit about the Ironworkers, the
Mental
that's
health committee.
mental health committee and the Ironworkers District Council Women's Committee.
Oh my goodness. I think thank you very much for going through that and just thank you for everything that you do. I think that's so amazing. And like when I read that part of your story and researching, I was just like, this is just it's so impactful and it's so important. And first off, I do want to say so I'm so sorry to hear about losing one of your best friends and losing a brother. I couldn't imagine how hard that is, and especially
Mm-hmm.
coming up to a 1 year. So I'm sorry that that
Thank
happened.
you. Yeah,
And
he's missed for sure. He's a
oh,
smart guy too. Very, very,
yeah.
very good iron worker.
Oh. No,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know. It's just it's such a hard disease, and I think it's a disease that whether you know it or not, it has affected you or it's affected somebody really, really close in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, they might not share it, but like everybody knows somebody who's been really affected with anxiety or depression. I think that this is fantastic what you guys have created. I think it's so powerful, it's so necessary. But what I love most about it, I love the one that it's coming from the community. And I do love that middleman structure because I think it does calm people down and allows them to feel a little bit more vulnerable and to be like, okay, the other person on the other line, they're like me, they get it. But I also love that you're changing culture, and I think that's the big thing is like, yeah, like long hours, intensity, like high adrenaline, industrial environments do create these mental health and substance issues, but I also think it's a culture of a lot of men not being able to talk about emotions, not being able to break down problems, not being able to maybe be vulnerable at all or like
Yep.
even have that conversation of being like, "Hey, maybe I'm a little nervous and I don't know why." Like that in itself can't happen in some of these cultures. So I love
Mm-hmm.
as an organization and high union that you guys and like all these badass iron workers have been like, "No, we get nervous or we get sad or we get like I love that you're having honest discussion and changing culture. I think that's incredible. I really, really do.
Yeah, it honestly is. It's a really great movement to be, you know, a part
Mhm.
of. And like also the fact that it's the iron workers that are doing this first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I believe the electricians have something similar. I believe at least the electricians around here.
Mhm.
I'm honestly talking out of my ass. I don't fucking know, but I'm pretty sure that they have something. But it's
Yeah.
like the iron workers.
The most
They
hardcore,
they
stereotypical.
have they're
Mhm.
they're doing, you know, the things that are slowly we're doing the things that are necessary. You know, you can't. I mean, change is scary, especially to like the
Mhm.
guys that have been in the trade for, you know, 30 years. Seeing all this shit happen, they're like, yo, what the fuck? This isn't how it's supposed to be, or this isn't how it was. But it's like, no, you're right. It's not how it used to be. But the way it used to be,
We're not supposed
like,
to lose so many brothers or sisters though every single year. Like that's not normal.
exactly.
That shouldn't
Yeah,
be like a normalized thing or like the way that it is. It shouldn't.
exactly. It shouldn't. So, yeah, just being a part of it is, you know, it's great. And it makes me, obviously, it fulfills, like I said, it's
Mhm.
fulfilling for me. You know what I mean? It's like a different side of our trade where you see people be more vulnerable, like you said, and you're basically, it's just a big support system
Mhm.
essentially, you know, and like that's a lot of time what people need because you know what, like I said earlier, like I am very fortunate. I know a lot of people that don't have a support system like I have.
Mhm.
Don't have fucking anybody. They have their friends at work and like that's it.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, you wonder why some guys want to work literally every fucking day, 7 7 12.
Yeah.
And like sometimes people don't stop to think and be like, why do they want to work 7/12s all the fucking
Yeah,
time?
why am I like
Like,
seeking
like we
isolation?
we
Yeah.
want to go home to our family and our friends and our kids or whoever, or my dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like why do other people want to work? So sometimes like when you change the perspective of like why, like thinking about different things,
Mhm.
it's kind of crazy to think like maybe this person doesn't have a support system like me.
Mhm.
Maybe this person goes home and sits on the couch and drinks beer all fucking night and doesn't do anything
Yeah.
and is miserable and is happier at work. Like that is an unfortunate reality of
Mhm.
our lifestyle.
No, I think it's incredible. And I think it shows the strength of a union, and I think it shows the strength of community and having people sticking up for you. And again, I do love that it's the Ironworkers in Toronto that's starting this, and
Mm-hmm.
the women's
Represent.
committee. Like, yes, like it's good. It's fantastic that you guys are doing this, and like the women's committee too. Like, I do want to touch briefly on that importance of like I feel like it's a if you build it, they will come. And like I think there's been so much data on like any women's committee has created a better culture because like you said, like, yeah, like Matt Wright and Pat Wright or having maternity leave and paternity leave, it's obviously going to affect and having daycare, it's obviously going to affect moms first, but it's also going to affect dads. And like it's going to also affect their culture and maybe move it from broken families or maybe like a hard time at home or like it's just going to move a lot of stress that's coming with living this industrial life and living a rotational long hour life. It's going to make it
Yeah.
a lot easier and easier to handle. So I think what you guys doing with 721, I think it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to be, a part of it for sure. It's definitely a good feeling. So
Mm. No, I think it's incredible. I wanted to ask one last one, Ashton, before we go. And it is talking a little bit about this change up that you did, going back to like the very beginning of being like, okay, I'm going to be like a CSI Miami gal to all of a sudden being like, you know what? No, I'm going to run around with my clipboard and I'm going to work in ironworking. And I was wondering maybe if you could talk a little bit about like misconceptions, maybe of those two career paths button heads and like, kind of if you could do any advice of somebody who's like maybe stuck in that university section, but being like, hey, I don't know actually if this is like the right fit, or I feel like I have this idea of what trades could be and it doesn't include me in it. If you could speak to that and any advice to them who, if they're on the fence, but they want to take the ironworking plunge.
Well, honestly, like not even just the ironworking plunge, but like any
Mm-hmm.
plunge. Like at the end of the day, I think that most values for a lot of the people that are in our industries are, if you can show up and you show up on fucking time, you get the job done, you're just as good of a worker as, you're more helpful of a worker if you show up every day on time than the guy that's like the best fucking connector, the best iron worker that shows up
Mm-hmm.
at noon because he's hungover. You know what I mean? It's like you get more work out of the person that, I don't know. It's like, it's just, if you're willing to try, like honestly, if you're willing to
Yeah.
just try your best and go out there and do it, then I think that you're an asset for sure. And what was the other part of the
I
question?
was just like any, if there's like misconceptions that are holding women back and any advice to
Oh,
overcome that.
yeah. So like, obviously, since forever is that women don't belong like in our
Mm-hmm.
industry, which is complete bullshit. I mean, like I said, if you can show up and you can
Mm-hmm.
do the work,
It's
then
not gendered.
it doesn't matter that
Yeah.
you have a vagina or you have a fucking penis. Like it really doesn't. Sorry to be vulgar, but like fuck, it's true. It's like I I know I know some girls that are like actually physically stronger than some guys I know. Doesn't have a difference between, like I've had guys before that are like, oh, don't get Ashtyn to do it, it'll take her longer.
Mm.
It's like, guess what? It might
Well,
take me longer. Well, sometimes it might.
mm,
It might take me longer, but am I still gonna do it?
yeah,
Yeah. Am I gonna get it done? Yeah. So I might not do it as fast as you, but I can
doesn't
still
matter.
do it. Like
Mhm.
the example I'm thinking about in my head is our hoist broke down, and the guy torching needed a bottle of fucking oxygen. It was big bottles
Mhm.
of oxygen bottles,
Mhm.
and I carried it up
Oh,
all
wow.
five flights of stairs.
Damn.
And yeah, it was obviously hard,
Yeah.
but like I did it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I fucking did it. So it might have took me 10 minutes longer than it would have took Buddy, but like I still did it. I got it to the fucking guy that was torching. Like, who
Yeah.
cares, right? So yeah, I don't think that you need, like, people. I know it's just easy to say, but like, don't be limited based on your gender.
Well, it sounds like
And
it's just like work ethic. It sounds like
it
ironworking and
is
also trades is just like all about work ethic and like not even can you do it right away or can you do it as quick or the same way as others somebody, but like are you willing to do it? And are you willing to
exactly,
like have a good attitude about it and learn how to do it? Like it sounds really like this job just comes down to work ethic and like is
it
not
does. It,
gendered
it
whatsoever.
honestly does. It does. I mean, of course, there is those guys, like any fucking place.
Yeah.
You don't belong here, right? But
Mhm.
it's like, fuck off. You're just mad because I can literally walk the iron better than you, right? And because I look better doing it.
Yes, you
But
do.
like they get mad at me when I'm putting my sunscreen on in the shack, and I'm like, sorry, I don't want to have fucking leather skin like you. But no, honestly, like it does. It comes down to work ethic.
Mm,
The number one thing that people talk about, like they always say, your name beats you to your next job.
mm,
Someone always will know who the fuck you are on your next job.
mhm.
It's just the way it goes. So you either have somebody talking about you like, yeah, she's a good worker, she knows what the fuck she's doing, or she's lazy and she don't do fuck all,
Mhm.
right? And like which one of those people do you want to be?
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
exactly. You want to be the worst one.
you
But
like
like,
like
yeah.
honestly, right? So it does truly come down to work ethic and just the want to be there. And like nobody wants to fucking work every day. Obviously, nobody wants to do that. But it's like you go to work, you get the job done, you have fun while you're doing it with the
Mhm,
guys at work. Like honestly, what more can you ask for? Like we
mhm.
we make great money, we have great pension, great benefits. We have a good support system at our union hall for the most part. I mean, everybody has a different opinion on stuff like that, but like to me,
It's
no,
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like you just go and you do your job, and it all comes down, yeah, it comes down to work ethic and just like the want to be there.
I love it. I love
Hmm.
it. I love it. I mean, like,
But
it's a
I
good,
truly think that
yeah.
people should not knock it. My mom always used to say, like, I used to hate tomatoes.
Don't knock it
And
till you try it.
yeah, don't knock till you try it. Honestly, though, don't, because guess what? Now I fucking love tomatoes. So it's
Love
like,
ironworking. You said you're like, never me. And you're like, yep, now I'm an
exactly.
ironworker.
Now I fucking love it. And like
Yeah.
I am like proud. Like I will
Union
shout it from
rep.
the rooftops. I'm a
Mhm.
fucking iron worker. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I love it.
Yeah.
Like I literally have videos of me at Tradeswomen Build Nations, which is like a huge
Hmm.
convention. Have you heard of it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I was at Tradeswomen Build Nations and I'm screaming, "Iron Wing!" And all the other girls are like, "Iron Workers!" And it's just like the empowerment, the proudness, just
Hmm.
the
The pride, everything. The
everything. You know what I
love, the
mean? It's just
support, the like, the camaraderie, the family.
thousand
Yeah.
percent,
Oh,
100%. Yeah.
no, that's
So
the best way to end it. That's gorgeous.
yeah,
No, thank you
yeah.
so much, Ashtyn. This has been like a freaking delight. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on the show. It was absolutely incredible speaking with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun. And I'm so happy. It worked. Third time
Me
is the
too.
charm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This was a freaking delight.